Arrests made related to drones. You can see Boston reporting that there was an investigation happening in Massachusetts where we've seen drones flying around. In Natick, it's linked to arrest of 2 Iranians. And we actually have the criminal complaint, which was filed under seal, a highly sensitive document from the District of Massachusetts. The U.S. government, the DOJ, arresting and criminally charging Mahdi Mohammed Sadeghi and Mohammed Abedini. And it's related to drones. Now, they were arrested in Massachusetts, but the drones that they had an issue with were overseas in Jordan. And so we're asking ourselves, is there any relation? Because we've also seen that the governments of New Jersey, I believe, made other arrests for other hobbyist drones operators who were flying their drones in what looked like a response to try to investigate the other drones. Okay, so a lot of drone arrests and drone activity is happening. These guys were just arrested, and they were arrested domestically in the United States. And so, of course, the question is, what were they doing here if they were flying drones and killing Americans overseas? Here is the headline from WCVB. Says they were in connection with a deadly drone strike that actually killed some people over in Jordan. Here's how the DOJ reported this, saying the founder of an Iranian company was arrested for providing material support to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard and a scheme to procure sensitive U.S. technology to use in their drones. And one of those killed 3 U.S. service members, right? So this dude got arrested, a dual U.S. Iranian national of Natick, Mass, arrested along with this guy, 38, Mohammed and Mohammed, Mahdi Mohammed and Mohammed got arrested, charged in federal court in Boston, conspiring to export sophisticated electronic components from the United States in violation of export rules. Sadeghi was arrested today, made an initial appearance in Massachusetts. According to court documents, he's the founder and director of a company called Sanat Danesh Rapuyan Affleck Company, a big name, that manufactures navigation modules used in the Iranian military's drone program. SDRA main business is sale of proprietary navigation systems known as the Saphir navigation system. As alleged in court documents, they conspired to export this technology. Laws restrict that. So what he did is he established a front company in Switzerland. Today, the Justice Department, they had a whole press briefing on this. They were very excited about this. You can see FBI Boston came out. They all stood in front of a podium. And here's what that looked like. They said, FBI Boston special agent in charge. Her name is Jody Cohen. Probably no relation to Michael. And our partners announced national security charges against an Iranian man and a dual U.S. Iranian citizen living in Massachusetts in connection with a fatal drone strike that killed 3 U.S. soldiers and injured 40 others. Terrible. So they had their press release. Here's what the complaint looks like. You can see this one came out, an affidavit in support of a criminal complaint. This guy says, I'm an FBI agent, and I have been since 2016, currently investigating export problems. I'm familiar with how people try to get around these rules. Now, the facts are my personal observations, and here's what I figured out. Abedini was a co-founder, and he works for that company. Now, the overwhelming majority of SDRA's net sales came from the sale of its navigation system called the Saphir navigation system. And they sold that to Iran. It's a strategic missile, air, and space force within the IRGC, and they have counterintelligence under the supreme leader of Iran. Now, Sadeghi was an employee of the company, and then they founded another company in Switzerland to maneuver the info to Switzerland, so it doesn't look like it's going directly to Iran. Their near exclusive sale of the system to the Iranians also benefited the Iranians. Based on my training, I know that they develop UAVs, which has been provided to and utilized by Iran-backed militias across the Middle East. Now, remember, we saw that story about these drones flying around New York and New Jersey from that other Republican representative who said that there was an Iranian mothership off the coast, saying this Saphir navigation system has played a direct role in attacking U.S. troops. On January of this year, 3 U.S. service members were killed. More than 40 others were injured. The military outpost is known as Tower 22. The drone that caused the death was recovered and the drone analyzed by the FBI. That analysis found Sadraco Ltd, also known as the SDRA, in the data strings on the microcontroller. The analysis found that the firmware used in the navigation system was a version of Zephyr. So this guy's providing software to drones that are blowing up Americans. The International Economic Powers Act says you can't do this. The president signed executive orders. We protect our stuff. There's export controls. You can't ship sensitive stuff out. We know that the Iranians are on the list of don't ship stuff to them. Among its activities, they've actively targeted nationals of the United States and allies for killing. They're very upset about Soleimani's death after Trump took him out on that tarmac. And here are some more about these people. This guy currently serves as the administrator for the Iranian Space Agency. And since at least 2014, they've sold stuff to that government entity. They sell integrated and inertial navigation systems. These military applications have been part of their business plan since at least 2014, and they've been doing it obviously for a while. Then they created a business proposal in August 2015 for an elite group in Iran. They sought a loan for almost $800,000, and then they scheduled meetings to talk about this. Here's some of the conversation. Based on the investigation, I say person one and person two understood that their plans to set up the companies, they knew they were in violation of the law. Here's how I know. For example, on December 3rd, 2015, person two sent an email to Sadegate and person one to schedule a meeting. In that email, he knew that person one was the CEO and the president and owner of this company and asked to have the weekends off. Person one said, you can have all the weekends off if you want, if you promise to bring me some chai when I'm in jail, bring me something delicious when I'm sitting around in solitary confinement. Similarly, on August 1st, Sadegate asked person one for input on the name of the sister company, stating, after all, it is all yours. I guess I should know what name it is when I am in court getting sentenced. Okay, so they're like joking. That's all good. Yeah, no, I'll see you in prison. And they just kept doing it. Yikes. From in at least or about August 2018, they've been shipping this stuff out. They have licenses that they're not getting. And Abedini was procuring these parts. Then while a student, he sought parts from another U.S. company. He says, I'm studying. I need these for sensors, okay, for my PhD thesis in robotics. Yeah. U.S. company said, we can't give you those sensors because there's laws. Then he traveled to Switzerland, and then there he completed projects, and those products were shipped to Switzerland, okay? So he just goes to Switzerland. He says, well, I'm going to do my thesis and study my PhD over there. Great. Then they shipped them over there. Then there were emails. Company one advised Abedini, saying, you cannot take those parts to Iran. He sent an email to the officials at a Geneva airport in Switzerland, asking whether he could transport, quote, sample parts. He's like, do you think I can get these sample parts in my luggage? He falsely told Swiss that there were general parts with no restrictions. He's like, these are just like Legos. Don't even worry about it. He attached the invoice for the company to the email. And according to the company and their export classification page, you can't do that. Then he traveled to Iran. I have reason to believe he took those components in his luggage in violation of U.S. law. Now, between those parts also included microcontrollers. Then they worked together in Iran. Then they placed more orders from U.S. people to get more so they could reverse engineer them and put them in their drones. Same thing happened here. They were going through Hong Kong and other places, and they were just setting up fronts. So you can see this just goes on and on. So this is good work from this special agent, obviously following this guy for a very long time, navigation algorithms and more. Now, does that have anything to do with the drones that we're seeing in the skies? Who knows? But Homeland also released this report. They said, all right, there's a joint statement for all you people who are so nervous about this stuff. Relax. Here's a statement from Homeland, FBI, FAA, and the DOD about how crazy everybody is. There are more than 1 million drones lawfully registered with the FAA in the United States. And there are thousands of commercial, hobbyist, and law enforcement drones that fly around in the sky at any given day. With the technology landscape evolving, we expect that number increases over time. The FBI has received more than 5,000 reported drone sightings in the last few weeks, with approximately 100 leads generated, which means you're all just crazy. And the federal government is supporting state and local officials in investigating these reports. Consistent with each of our unique missions and authorities, we are working quickly to prioritize and follow these leads. We have sent advanced detection technology to the region, and we have sent trained visual observers too. Having closely examined the technical data and tips from concerned citizens, we assess that the sightings to date include a combination of lawful commercial drones, hobbyist drones, and law enforcement drones, as well as manned fixed-wing aircraft, helicopters, and stars mistakenly reported as drones. We have not identified anything anomalous and do not, I'm surprised they didn't say the moon too, assess the activity, and it's the moon, you're also saying, activity to date to present a national security or public safety risk in civilian airspace in New Jersey or other states in the Northeast. Saying, that said, we do recognize concerns among many communities. We continue to support state and local authorities with advanced detection technology and support law enforcement. We urge Congress, though, to enact counter UAS legislation when it reconvenes that would expand existing drone authorities. Now, additionally, there have been a limited number of visual sightings of drones over military facilities in New Jersey and elsewhere, including within restricted airspace. Such sightings near or over DoD are not new. DoD takes unauthorized access over its airspace seriously, coordinates with local authorities as appropriate. Local commanders are actively engaged to ensure that they are appropriate, detecting and putting mitigation measures in place. Okay, so that's from Homeland. And I think, again, they're saying everybody's crazy. And the stuff that's up there are lawful commercial drones, or they're lawful law enforcement drones, or they're manned fixed-wing aircraft, or helicopters. Stars, could be many things. Maybe it's even the moon, who knows? So that's what they say. We also saw that Newark, FBI Newark, said, please don't shine lasers up there. FBI Newark and New Jersey State Police want to warn the public about an increase in pilots being hit in the eyes with lasers because people are shining them at the drones or whatever's up there. FBI Newark and others saying, don't do it. They've been out every night for several weeks to legally track down operators acting illegally or with nefarious intent. However, there could be dangerous and deadly consequences if manned aircraft are targeted mistakenly. Mis-ID often occurs when they're mistaken for other objects like manned aircraft, celestial bodies like planets or stars. To improve accuracy, a variety of tools and techniques can be used to assist with visual identification. This is critical. Now, there are many different websites that can give you ideas of what's up there. And just look to see, but don't shine lasers up in the sky. Now, John Kirby was out yesterday explaining more on this. Here's what that interview sounded like.
Now, to talk about these mysterious drones flying over parts of the U.S., White House National Security Communications Advisor, retired Admiral John Kirby. John, thanks for being here. You hear all of these officials. You've heard a lot of concern, a lot of coverage. Where are you tonight on this?
As we look at the information we've got, Brett, and we've now examined some 5,000 different sightings, we've added detection capabilities, additional observers. As you and I stand here today, to date, our assessment is that this is lawful, legal, commercial, hobbyist, and even law enforcement aircraft activity. Some of it's manned.
So they know what it is.
Some of it's unmanned. We absolutely acknowledge that a lot of these are probably drones, but they're flying legally. And it is legal to fly drones in non-restricted airspace as long as you're registered with the FAA. And there's thousands and thousands of these kinds of flights every single day. I think there's more than 1 million drones that are registered with the FAA.
Okay, so the narrative is shifting from it's not happening or there's no evidence of it being a problem to now it is happening, but it's lawful and legal.
Just in the United States alone.
But this is different, it seems.
Yes.
These are bigger. They're 6 feet in diameter, a lot of them. There was a reporter the other day that saw 50 coming from the coast at one pack.
Swarm.
I know when you first came out, you said that most of these are manned. Can you concede that maybe most of these are not manned?
I said was at the time, and this was Thursday, when we were not as informed as we are today based on the resources we have applied to the problem set. I said many of the reported sightings we believe to be manned aircraft. That was true when we said it on Thursday. We still believe, Brett, that some of these are in fact manned aircraft. I couldn't give you a breakdown of what percentage, but we do believe that still some of these sightings are in fact manned aircraft. We also acknowledge that a lot of them are unmanned aircraft. But again, our assessment to date, given all the work that we've done, the FBI, state and local officials, that these are legal and lawful drones flying for the common good.
Okay, the
Flying.
Homeland Security Secretary said over the weekend that right now they don't have any foreign involvement, criminal activity. We don't see them as a national security concern. How can you get to that point? How can you get to that conclusion with what you're seeing?
Because we've done the analysis. We've done the detection and the analysis. We've corroborated
We looked at the
sightings.
pixels.
And in every case that we have examined to date, we have seen nothing that indicates a public safety risk. There are drones flying over the skies of the United States every single night, every single day. And we've seen nothing in and around New Jersey that should give the people on the ground there concerns for their safety for this activity. And we've seen nothing working with the Department of Defense as well that indicates a foreign adversary actor involved or any kind of pernicious national security threat. Now, there have been some drone sightings, I think, as over some military bases. We're obviously looking at that as a different category, and DOD has different authorities to deal with that. But again, we've also seen no disruption of operations at our bases in New Jersey either from any of this.
Okay, here is the president-elect today.
Mr.
They
President,
know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense.
What's your answer to that?
I think it goes back to the first question you asked me, Brett. We have made an assessment based on the work we've done thus far, and our assessment is that this is lawful and legal activity, whether it's manned or unmanned. Again, we see no indication of a national security or public safety risk.
Okay, but there are so many of them, John.
Assessment.
There are so many of them, John. If this was happening over Delaware, Rehoboth Beach, would you be a little bit more concerned? I guess the people of New Jersey wonder why it took so long to get to the point you are now. And if you see all of this, doesn't a local authority need the authority to be able to deal with it? Is that something Congress has to pass? Because they want to say, I don't want a 6-foot wide diameter refrigerator flying over my house and falling on my roof.
That's a great question, and I'm glad you asked it, Brett, because we absolutely do want to see congressional action. The Biden administration proposed legislation for counter UAS authorities, additional authorities to close some of the gaps and seams that you're talking about, not only between our own agencies here in the federal government, but the gaps that exist between us and state and local authorities. We absolutely want to see that legislation. And President Biden's calling for a bipartisan task force on Capitol Hill to do exactly that, to try to drive some legislative remedies. I think everybody, and I think we all understand this, Brett, we're in a new ecosystem in terms of unmanned aircraft in this country. Again, all legal and lawful and doing the right thing for the public good, but it's a brand new ecosystem. There are more systems.
So just get used to it, I guess, also.
Over more cities than ever before. And the authorities,
they're going to start flying these things everywhere.
That those authorities don't give us have not kept up with that ecosystem. And so we want to see that driving forward.
All right, last thing. You don't see any linkage between the number of that this is all tied together in one thing. You think these are all different elements and different kinds of drones, not with one company, not with the military, not with the DOE, Department of Energy. You don't say that they're looking for some nuclear material. You say these are all different flying objects, some of them manned, some not.
Our assessment to date is that, Brett, that this is a collection of law enforcement, hobbyists, commercial drones, and of course, civil aviation aircraft that have caused all these sightings. And it's not attributable to an actor for a purpose. And again, I want to stress to your viewers that we don't see anything that indicates a national security or a public safety threat. The last thing I'll say, Brett, and I appreciate the time you're giving me, is this is an ongoing investigation. We're still working our way through this. Sightings continue to come in. We've taken them all seriously, and we'll continue to look at this. And if we learn more, if we know more, certainly if we find something that's contradictory to what we believe today, I'll be right up here on your show talking about it.
And we will have you on right away. John, we appreciate the time.
All right. So another possibility could be they are just rolling out a new status quo, right? There isn't a nuclear problem. They're not trying to sniff out anything. They're just going to be flying a lot more drones a lot more often. And get used to it. We've investigated it. And I don't know if there's another way to roll that out, really, to say, hey, they could announce this publicly. Like, we're going to start flying drones a lot over everybody because we have a new government program and we're just going to do it for whatever reason. We're going to track, how the government is. They just like to look at things and track everything. So we're just going to start this program. and we're going to start flying over everybody's house, and we're going to use scanners to see what you're doing in your bedrooms, through your roof, and whatever. And we're just going to do it. They couldn't announce it, right? Couldn't roll that out. Hey, we're flying drones over your house. So they'll just start doing it, and then they'll start seeing people notice it, and then it'll get to a fever pitch, and they'll entertain it for a while, and then the public will just deal with it, and they'll just move on. And then Congress can come legislate or something, and then we'll get maybe some more rules about it. But in the meantime, they'll just continue to roll out the drone program, or whoever's flying the drones will continue to expand. We'll have drones all over the place because it's part of a new ecosystem. As we suspected, our government knows what they are. They're probably the governments or some entity who is government adjacent. Same thing, right? The FBI didn't censor you. No, Facebook did. The FBI just outsourced it to Facebook. Same thing. The White House isn't flying these. The DoD is not flying these, but they're lawful, legal, commercial drones who are being outsourced to some other entity who's flying them so that we can become accustomed to the government super state monitoring everything we do all the time. We're excited to see what Trump says when he comes in. Hopefully, we get some insight into what's happening with this program and we learn more about it. All right.